Christopher, another week in advance. How you doing tonight?
Really good, fantastic. And as we're progressing here, we're feeling the after effects of that new moon in Aquarius. So, how was your last couple of days? Was it kind of spooky out there in California?
Yeah, the darkening of the moon in Capricorn is a little sluggish. I think this Aquarius energy is so fresh and so exciting, but we definitely see the parallels between Capricorn and Aquarius as we led up into this weekend, as things are, kind of in this more earthy, more controlled state. And I think we're ready to be free. I think we're ready for, to leave kind of the restriction, whether it's you're stuck in the cold weather or whether you're stuck in situations that you just want to control every situation in. I really felt the opposition of Jupiter to Pluto and Venus that were conjunct, because I feel there's this restriction and this opening of feeling that we want, and when you mix it with Aquarius, it's like we just want it now, or we just want things to be a certain way, and it's almost like they can't turn out exactly the way we want it.
At least not yet. I think that that's one of the things that we're going to be challenged with over the next couple of weeks, because number one, as you had mentioned, we have that Venus-Pluto activity still going on. Venus finally is stopping the retrograde motion and is going to be stationary direct for a while and just slowly starting to pick up speed. So it's going to take Venus almost a full week to advance even 1 degree. It's really kind of set in there in that association with Pluto. It's almost like Pluto is trying to seduce Venus, and Venus is saying, "Oh, I don't think I want this," and is getting ready now to start moving forward again in the chart. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how that separative aspect gets us refocused on our goals, our dreams, our vision of this new future we're trying to create for ourselves. And I think that this new moon, a lot of seeds were planted, and I think over the next week we're going to start to see those little tiny sprouts break the surface. We're going to get that indicator that, yes, the dreams that we've been working on, the desires we've had, are finally going to start moving forward, and we're going to be able to reap the harvest of our efforts.
Yeah, this is a new door opening in our lives. I think this new moon is the signal of that. I believe that it is here, especially on Friday, as Venus is stationary, moving direct, at the same time as Mercury is leaving Aquarius and moving into Pisces, all while a new moon has happened. Really does shut a door and open a new one. And it's an exciting new door, although Mercury coming into Pisces makes it, well, I think dreamy is an understatement. I think it could also become a little bit confusing, like, well, okay, now we're having to step into this door, but the GPS might not be working like usual. We are having to rely on intuition and rely on signs of spirit. This is excellent for astrology, excellent for tarot, excellent for you starting to sharpen your skills in the spiritual realm. So for people like you and I, Christopher, and I think a lot of the people watching this, this is an excellent door opening. But, for the status quo, who's not really good with flowing emotionally and, really using alien kind of weird energy, especially as this is a new moon in Aquarius weekend that we step into, Venus now turning on Pluto, which is uncovering, so many weird parts of the stories in our life, the relationships, what we're manifesting. This is an exciting window.
It absolutely is. And one of the things that I'm observing with a certain amount of curiosity is that acceleration of Uranus over in Aries. It is getting ready to really, really, really break free now. It's going to be running like a banshee through Aries for a while here. And it is going to be creating another hard square situation there with Pluto. And Venus is going to feel the aftershocks of that. And then mid part of next week or early part of next week, we'll have the moon joining that party. So again, we're going to have some interplanet activity that I also associate with our personal lives that could stir up things that you have failed to stop and address. So we'll have the moon conjuncting Uranus, squaring Pluto and Venus. And if you look in your chart, you'll see where those stress points are going to be. And people should follow through and get a chart. You can find them online for free, and then you can stop and apply these things to your personal chart, and it'll make a lot more sense.
Yeah, and this is an excellent time to do that because, we are opening a new, I call it portal, it's a new portal into kind of a new chapter of the universe bringing some new gifts our way, us really sprouting new energy like you had described earlier. And this weekend, the moon leaving Aquarius after becoming refreshed and new, especially in Aquarius, I think it gives it an extra freshness, an extra jolt of electricity. But it comes over a newly found Mercury in Pisces, which this is the last time the moon and Mercury will conjunct before Mercury goes retrograde this coming up week. So this is a very important weekend where I think we have to become clear of how we feel about things in our life. And this is the signal of what we're going through with Jupiter in Cancer as it opposes Pluto. There's a lot of feelings on the table right now and new directions forming, and we get this very unique behind the curtain kind of energy of Pisces finally. This is going to be our first real big dose of the Pisces energy, kind of intense this weekend, which I think allows you to relax, kind of let loose. When you mix Pisces and Aquarius, now you start to let loose. It leaves that Capricorn, even though Capricorn is still kind of the story of a Venus direct, which I think is really a big deal. We're finishing a 40-day, 40-night cycle, which is closing another big door with relationships. I think there's been a lot of karmic energy that has come up in relationships, and we're going to have to face a lot of that. Venus for the next month is going to pass through all of the retrograde energy that we've gone through for 40 days. So if you think this whole story is over, it's definitely not, but it is opening up some really powerful, behind the curtain, very intuitive, very spiritual doors for you to start to understand and put these signs together. I think it's a beautiful energy to come in.
It is, absolutely. It is going to have some seductive and somewhat bizarre energies that kind of shake loose during this transit. Of course, the moon moving across Mercury and Neptune in Pisces, I would say is probably going to cause the collective unconscious to go through quite a significant shift. And I'll bet that people over the weekend will be having some very fascinating dreams. I think it's going to really open up that portal. And then we look down at what's going on with Jupiter in Cancer, and Jupiter is moving backwards. So Jupiter is approaching a trine to this energy that is manifesting with Mercury, the moon, and Neptune in Pisces. So there, again, that's that idea of the wellspring of the soul starting to open up, and things from the depths of the subconscious floating to the surface. So a lot of visionary type of energy is going to be floating around this weekend. And then in addition to that, we have got the opposition going on. So you've got the trine on one side of the activity in Pisces. You've got Jupiter, again, as I had stated, moving backwards, while we've got Pluto and Venus moving forwards now. So that's giving you kind of a little pulling, it's almost like if I should have had a rubber band here on my desk, because it's that kind of energy. You've got the rubber band thing going on here with that exchange of activity between two very important signs, Cancer and Capricorn. So it's going to be an interesting week following a somewhat intuitive, metaphysical, psychic kind of weekend.
Yeah, it's a very psychic weekend into week because Mercury starts its station on Neptune, which it will pretty much go exactly stationary this week because on Thursday we have Mercury going retrograde. So this is a big deal. I think that it's A very weird week, but I think it's the opening of a really powerful new door, and we get the opportunity to really start to move forward in some new directions and start to move forward with this Venus energy. That Capricorn Cancer energy opposition you talk about can be uncomfortable, you know. I don't think that, you know, finding comfort is the easiest operation in life when you have such a big opposition, because both signs deal with the extremes of comfort, whether it's business attire in a suit or being super comfortable in a sweater before you go to sleep in your sweatshirt. You know, they deal with these very extreme places. And these are extreme times, especially because they're in the middle of this, you know, cardinal cross energy with your Uranus and Mars, which are in there, you know, cardinal signs. This is going to be kind of the highlight, I think, of, you know, finding comfort in our life, finding directions that, you know, we want to achieve and making things happen. And when you add the ingredients of Mercury and Neptune, this is making dreams come true, you know, really having our minds go through this kind of checkout. Because I think that when Mercury comes into Pisces, it says, you know what, calculators, leave your calculators at home. You know, intuitively figure out the solutions here, you know, and Mercury doesn't have a good time with that. Mercury wants to figure out the numbers, but in Pisces it says you don't even need the calculator, you know, and I think that we all can throw our calculators away. I think that we can start to really dream and listen to our dreams and listen to the signs. This is going to be a week where the signs, I think, could be more incredible, and the synchronicities could be so heightened that it's overwhelming. This could be, you know, feeling, I think, the hand of God kind of energy, you know, especially when you deal with kind of this, you know.
Yeah, it does have that somewhat um, mystical essence that we find in a yod, you know, where the finger of God appears in your personal chart and says, okay, look at this. This is what I want you to pay attention to. But also, you know, we're moving more and more in that direction of getting the nodes out of that Scorpio Taurus activity. And that's, I think that in itself is going to bring a tremendous amount of release as we see Mercury prepare itself to go retrograde. We're going to have the nodes continuing to retrograde themselves, but in their own fashion, advancing backwards into those regions of the chart where the energy is a lot less restrictive. I think that Scorpio and Taurus can be very, very restrictive, and it drags up a lot of stuff from the collective unconscious that is tiresome to have to stop and deal with. So we're going to be seeing that diminishing aspect going on too.
Yeah, it's been a while that since we've gone through a node transformation. You know, it's been over a year. We went through a whole, you know, North Node, Scorpio, Taurus, all through 2013, and even at the end of 2012 there. So this is a huge dramatic shift coming in February, although not this week. But I think it's important to pay attention to that this week, the events that are happening are because there is a closing door on a bigger scale as far as our collective conscious goes, where the direction of life turns from deep and intense emotional transformation and starts to move into balance and harmony and trying to find peace. I think that's the direction. And, you know, make sure our judgments are correct and our egos are diminished, especially as a South Node in Aries comes in. But I think these doors that are starting to open are still finishing up the deep transformational aspects of our life, transforming our soul, connecting to our desires, and really searching for some stuff that might be hidden. You know, that's the whole message of Scorpio. And I think this week, Mercury on Neptune, Venus on Pluto, this energy is about uncovering. And I think there's a lot to uncover. I think that there's some corners we might not have seen yet that our minds couldn't find. I think that's what Mercury leaving Aquarius and coming into Pisces is, well, you're going to have to, like, you know, look into some different areas that you might not have looked before. And it's a beautiful thing. I think this is going to be a week where you just feel completely different than you have for a long time.
Absolutely, yes. And one of the things that I find interesting is while there's this intensity of that activity between Neptune, Mercury, Uranus, Pluto, and Venus, and it is very, very concentrated and almost like a stew. It's very thick and it's bubbling and there's a lot of activity. But on the upside, we've got Saturn this week and Mars this week, somewhat offline. They are not going to be adding their juice to this process. And I think that that is going to give a lot of people the relief that is necessary to get through these moments when we're going to have to stop and really look more deeply into the actions of our past and our commitment to our future.
Yeah. I really feel that the commitment to our future is the big deal of the nodes in Scorpio. It's a commitment. And I think that's a really good way to say this, especially as Saturn is starting to slow down. It only goes one more degree and then it goes stationary, retrograde. So Saturn's already begun its slowdown. Mars, especially, I think February is the month of Mars to watch because Mars only goes 4 degrees in February. And Mars usually goes much more than that. Mars usually goes through almost a complete sign in a month. So Mars is on an extreme shadow period slowdown. So we're in a shadow period of Mars, and our actions, I think, are going to be very much highlighted through this month because it's slowing down. You know, Venus as well is now going to finish up its transit in February here in Capricorn. It's been here since, you know, I mean, later part of 2013. It's been a while that Venus has been stuck here. And now with a Mars stopping, this is unique and rare energy to have both our masculine and feminine planets. I'd say Mars and Venus in astrology are two of the most powerful planets in astrology. And to have them both in these very weird situations can really equate to some more weird situations in our life, dealing with men and women, dealing with relationships, dealing with especially, you know, there's so many weird, you know, kind of like, I'm going to just say it, past life people and circumstances playing out. There's like a soup bowl right now of so many, like, you know, interdimensional kind of lifetimes all mixed up in this unique universe right now at this unique time of the shifting of the ages. And this has never happened before, you know?
You know, that really is the beauty of astrology, is that we're given literally on a second-to-second basis portraits of phenomena that become personality, because each individual, their chart was that configuration of the universe or the solar system at that precise moment. That's where they started. That was their launch point. And so children being born over the next couple of weeks, their launch point, their destiny, their vision is going to be very much a part of this unfolding that we're seeing exactly with those energies. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see how this next generation that is going to be between now and the end of this year that are going to be coming on board, what their vision is going to be like, because they're going to propel us even further into a futuristic society. And I think that they're going to be an early launch group. They're going to have a very powerful voice, and it's going to be fun, I think, for all of us to just observe how magical astrology actually is. When you take two steps back and just see each click of this clock that is a series of magical gears and interactive components moving forward, you know, on a tick-tock basis. And I think that that's really a part of what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish here, is to get people to look at how each second has its own unique character and how it's very precious, and you need to appreciate it and then be ready for that next click of the clock.
Yeah, I think that you brought up a really good subject because I want to touch on this. I think um, this is such a really powerful time to see the astrology get really intense, especially because these nodes in Scorpio, the generation that you just brought up, the younger generation, are Pluto Scorpios. You know, the kids born from the latter part of 1984 and they go all the way up into the 90s. And the North Node has been here and Saturn in Scorpio. So it highlighted the younger generation very intensely in 2013. And so I think with the North Node leaving, it's now only Saturn there. And I think for the younger generation, and I can relate because I'm a Pluto Libran at 29 degrees, so I'm almost there, but I'll be honest, thank gosh I got the Libra energy. I kind of go in the older crowd. I've always kind of had that energy, even though I'm young. But these kids are going to have only Saturn on their Plutos now, especially people like Justin Bieber. You know, he's got those. I don't know why he keeps getting brought up, but I think he's kind of a really good description of this generation and what it can do, the power it can have, but also the power of how it, if it's not used correctly, it can be detrimental. And so with Saturn only allowed in Scorpio now, you know, it becomes much more work for the younger generation. And North Node slipping into Libra here at the end of this month really kind of signals the people from 1973 to 1984 very intensely, and actually starts to, you know, get this generation, you know, their time and their powerful transformation. And I think it's going to be a beautiful thing because it was only Saturn that was in Libra from 2010 into 2012. And this was a time period of, you know what, I think the world was really rebalancing, and that was when we were dealing with credit crisis, and we were dealing with, you know, financial troubles, and we were dealing with a lot of problems and stability. And it's so interesting to see the North Node getting ready for its transformational shift into Libra to, I think, restore the balance that we've been looking for a long effing time. You know, I think that this is a really exciting thing to come into.
It absolutely is. And for all of the people who are following our various discussions here for almost a year now, I think that a lot of information for foundation has been shared with all of our listeners. And so now I think that it's going to be fun to see what this next year brings up for us, for our interaction, because I think with this coming renewal with our anniversary on the horizon, we're going to be bringing some new ideas, some new formats, and perhaps some interesting guests on board to expand what we're doing a little bit more. So if you have something that you want to see us do or dialogue about, or an avenue that you would be curious about our exploration of, definitely leave comments on our YouTube channels, and we will try to include you in the program, try to personalize things so that you're getting the feedback and the information that you have a desire to comprehend, to understand.
Yes, it is our anniversary. Technically, I think it's this coming up week because it was about a year ago. Jupiter went direct in February. It was interesting. Not March like we're having this time. And then I looked in the astrology for next year, and Jupiter goes direct in April. So it's interesting to watch Jupiter do this monthly kind of extension. And it was when Jupiter went direct in Gemini that you and I started this show, and it's pretty much our year anniversary. So I think next week we're starting with this new format, and I think it's excellent to have people communicate with us as we are wanting to expand. We're not going to be doing the same format. We're going to have a much more interactive format with some fun designs and charts, and it's really exciting. We actually were just playing with it on Monday.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun year, and I think that really is the tone since we hit 2014, and now we've got with this new moon moving into the Chinese New Year. So we're really definitely arriving in 2014 or in 4712, I think it is by the Chinese calendar. So a year of happiness, a year of getting our breath, getting our needs met, and having a lot less strife in our lives. So, shall we take a couple of cards for this coming week in advance?
Let's do it.
Well, we're starting off Friday, Saturday, Sunday with celebrative energy. Good old Three of Cups. You can see the damsels are dancing in celebration. And I think that, you know, the Sun-Moon conjunction that's happening on Thursday in Aquarius kind of leads us into that direction of lighter-hearted, lighter visioned activities. And I think as we see Mercury and the moon progress into Pisces over the weekend, we're definitely going to be feeling that desire to get out and interact and be social. It shows it also has a lot of romantic overtones. So don't be surprised if, you know, somebody who's been wildly in love with you for years finally confesses that they were smitten with you and would like to know if you were interested in them. That's a very strong romantic vibe. The Knight of Cups. It can show up as courtship. It can show up as, you know, a desire for intimacy. It's also a very fresh card. There's a naivete about that card. So don't be surprised if somebody appears and charms the daylights out of you. Then, as we move into the first of the next week, discovering new things of value in our lives. Because this new moon, I think, is causing a lot of shifting around. I think that the energy that was kind of bogged down or trapped in Capricorn is going to break loose. And you can see this child focusing on this coin that is a symbol of earthly treasures. So very strong Capricorn energy moving into the first of next week, but in a positive, grounded, manifesting way. This coming week in its entirety is the Wheel of Fortune. Change is on the horizon. I'm seeing this in a lot of readings I'm doing for people right now too. A lot of people have been feeling like their lives were bogged down, and this coming week and the following week we're really going to feel like doors open, and the things that have been stagnant are starting to advance on our behalf. And by the end of the week, we arrive at kind of an interesting new state of being. We're able to let down our guard. We're able to arrive at a point of serenity. The Nine of Pentacles, which is a wonderful card of being at peace in the garden of your life. So, very interesting cards for the week.
Yeah, I think they're really excellent cards. They go along really well with the turning of the wheel that we're having this week. And I think that last card there is, you know, really sitting in a positive place, and actually an individual place. I've always looked at that card as being at one with the self, you know, and it is connected with the bird too, so it's connected with nature, but it's connected with, you know, there's something that's so solid in finding a security in the self, you know, and even though you do have a connection with your pet or with nature, there's something about that security of self from that card I always pick up. And I really think as we end this week, there's a new security in ourselves, and I think we're starting to, you know, really feel empowered. And Mercury retrograde at the end of this week, I think, even though it's the stationary position most this week, I think people will be prepared as we get ready for next week's show. That's when Mercury retrograde really will hit, you know.
It's going to be fun, Mercury retrograde, is my prediction, because I think it's going to bring people from our past back around that we would like to spend time with again. So don't be surprised if mid part of February somebody shows up in your doorstep and says, "Remember me?" And you know, you can go have a brewski together and recall the good old days. So I think that's going to be a very strong presence in that Mercury retrograde in Pisces, but then going back into Aquarius.
Yes, well, what an excellent time to be in, and I'm excited to see this shift in our lives, a big door closing, and I'm so happy that we were able to, you know, give all this information out in the middle of this last portal we were in. It'll be interesting to see this next one that opens up here.
It is. It's going to be a lot of fun and a big sigh of relief, I think, for everybody that has really been struggling with a lot of challenges this last year. We're finally coming out of the bramblebush patch.
Well, thanks so much, Chris. I can't wait to see you next week, and I hope you enjoy your time through this, especially this Pisces energy, Mr. Pisces.
Oh, yes, I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be kind of lighting up, I think, every point on the wheel. I think every sign is going to feel that sigh of relief. So I look forward to our connection in 7 days.
I do too, and I guess just to bring this up, the Pisces energy has been kind of we're closed off because nothing was touching Neptune. Nothing was touching Chiron. Like even though Pluto was there sextiling Chiron a little bit, if you looked at charts all through January, there was no major aspects to Neptune. Zero. So it was almost like forgotten about, and it finally turns back on this weekend. And I think this adds the better feeling that we've been looking for.
Absolutely. Joviality, being able to just, like you said, enjoy being with yourself as well as being with whoever comes down the street that you make that connection with.
Yep. Well, take care, Chris. I'll see you next week.
Sounds great. Take care.
Bye.
Good night.